Good evening. I'd like to call the March 3rd Planning Commission for the City of West Bend to order. Acknowledge we do have a quorum tonight. Commissioners Schmidt and Fleischman are absent and excused, and Commissioner Jenkins is running a little bit late, but he will be here. Would you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is approval of the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes of February 4th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments, questions, or changes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Item number 4A, conditional use permit, number 1, CU 20-002, public hearing for request for conditional use permit to allow a permanent makeup microblading business, permanent makeup, at 111 North Main Street within the B2 Central Business District. Applicant Tracy Seward, agent Carrie Miller. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak on that matter? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. And I think I did this out of order. Jim, I should have let you go first. Sorry.
That's all right. The conditional use that's being requested tonight from Carrie is for a microblading or a permanent makeup use at 111 North Main Street. The state of Wisconsin considers this type of service to be regulated as a tattoo establishment. So with that being regulated that way, our code requires that a conditional use permit be granted for that certain type of use. The property that is that she's looking at to work from is Zone B2, which is our central business district. It's a multi-tenant commercial building at that location. She submitted a operations letter, which provides the workings of her business. She's proposing to operate from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday. She will be the only employee at the establishment, and she's anticipating 4 to 8 customers a month for this type of use, and hoping to expand up to 6 to 12 as she gets established. Deliveries to the property will be very few, just for supplies that are needed via FedEx or UPS. The tattooing and body piercing license is required by the state of Wisconsin. Building permits would need to be pulled for this, for the renovations of the building, for her to prepare for the business to operate. Staff would recommend approval of the conditional use with the listed conditions, and we've also notified everyone within 200 feet, and staff received no inquiries for the conditional use.
Thanks, Jim. Is there any questions for Jim? If not, I'll entertain a motion on the item.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. If there's no other comments or questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Item number 2, CU 20003, public hearing for request for conditional use permit to operate a wine and hard cider processing and distribution business as a major home occupation at 1712 North 18th Avenue. Applicant and agent Daniel Hess, and a presentation by Jim Rinke.
Thank you. Daniel Hess from Insider Inc. Has submitted a conditional use permit for a major home occupation request for a wine production and distribution operation out of the home at 1712 North 18th Avenue. The property is zoned RS4, single-family residential, and in accordance with the zoning code, prior to obtaining the right to do food production and food sales out of the site, a conditional use permit is required. Daniel has submitted a letter of explanation for the operations. He plans to operate Sunday through Saturdays on 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The Department of Revenue and Alcohol, Tobacco, Tax, and Trade Bureau regulate this type of use to occur. The operation is a wholesale operation, so the business is not open to any of the public. All sales are direct to retail vendors. The production area will be limited to his garage area, and deliveries will be minimal, with about 3 deliveries per year for bottles for the wine. 3 small fermenters will be used to produce approximately 14 gallons out of each fermenter, and when the product is finished, it's bottled and then is delivered to the vendors by the owner. There are no exterior changes proposed to the building, along with no signage. All property owners within 200 feet were notified of the public hearing, and staff received only 1 general inquiry from one of the neighbors. And staff would recommend approval of the conditional use with the listed conditions.
Any questions for Jim? Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this matter? If so, step up to the podium, please.
I move to close the public hearing.
I have a motion, a second, to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. And I will now take a motion on the item.
I'll move to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions listed.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. If there's no further discussion or questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Item number 3, CU 19-008, public hearing for request for conditional use permit to allow a gas station use at 1613 and 1637 West Washington Street by Leah Berlin Quick Trip Incorporated. Agent Frank Stevens and Agent Leah Berlin. And again, a presentation by Jim Ranke.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is actually, since we have 4 items related to the same project, I'm just going to do one big brief on the entire project, then we can take it each individual item after the brief. So Quick Trip has submitted a conditional use, a site plan, a sign exception, and a certified survey map for the old Fleet Farm site located at 1613 and 1637 West Washington. As a part of the development project, the zoning code requires that a conditional use permit be issued for a gasoline service station. The proposal for the gas station includes an operations letter that was submitted by Quick Trip. They're looking to construct a 9,000 square foot convenience store and then also a 2,100 square foot car wash that is attached to the building. This site will have 21 fueling stations, and the operations are 24 hours. Fuel deliveries are done based on a need basis, and the site will also have 4 new fuel tanks that will be installed onto the site on the just west of the canopy. Given the site location, the surrounding uses, staff finds that the gas station use with the convenience store could be an acceptable use for a redevelopment of this property. Owners within 200 feet were notified of the public hearing. Staff did receive several comments and concerns regarding the development in terms of site lighting, noise of the car wash, traffic generations. Quick Trip, as a part of this, has also held 2 neighborhood meetings and has tried to address all the concerns that the neighborhood has or have had. Staff would recommend approval of the conditional use with the listed conditions that we had in the staff memo. As a part of the package, the site plan itself is for the 7-acre site. The property is Zone B1, and again, as a part of the process, the conditional use permit is needed for the actual gasoline station. The convenience store is actually a permitted use under the zoning code. The development plans that are submitted conform to the zoning requirements. The site includes a screened refuse area that has been incorporated into the building. Access to the site will be from 3 driveways on Washington Street and then 1 driveway on 18th Avenue. A traffic impact analysis has been submitted and has been reviewed with the city engineer, and discussions have been going back and forth with both Quick Trip and the engineering department in regards to that engineering report. 53 standard parking stalls and 3 barrier-free stalls are provided throughout the site, along with 20 additional stalls at the pumps. The laterals serving the property will come from Washington Street for the sanitary sewer, and the water will come from 18th Avenue. Stormwater management plan has been submitted for the development and is under review. The development for the Quick Trip site is actually 3.19 acres. There's another 4 acres to the west that will be used for future development as another commercial type use, which has not been determined at this time. The grades for the site have been designed to drain the site to an underground containment area at the southeast corner of the site, where it then discharges into existing storm sewer that further discharges out to the east. Site lighting throughout the development is on 19-foot LED lights mounted on 19-foot poles. The canopy lighting will be LED also, along with the building lighting. Due to the proximity of the residential use to the south, staff does recommend that the lighting have cutoff fixtures to minimize the impact of the lighting on the site. Staff would also recommend that the LED red stripe around the canopy on the south and east sides of the canopy be removed and just be a solid red stripe versus lit like the other portions. Plantings throughout the site have been provided for the foundation plantings, perimeter landscaping, along with additional landscaping on the south edge of the site. During these neighborhood meetings, Quick Trip has represented that they would be willing to add additional screening of a fence in the areas where would be needed for the residential uses. Also, as a part of the package, the signage for the buildings are 24 square foot wall signs on the north and west sides of the building. And the ground sign is also being proposed, which conforms to the overall size of 96 square feet. Also, as a part of the package, the Quick Trip is requesting an exception for the electronic message center to be oversized from the 16 square feet permitted by code, and is asking for an exception to allow the 25.9 square foot electronic message center instead. This request is consistent with all the other requests that we had from the other proposals that we've had. The building architecture will consist of the red brick for the main portion of the building, and with some earth tone accenting. Cream colored stucco will be used on the gabled ends of the buildings, and the green metal standing seam roof is proposed for the roofing material. Staff would recommend approval of the site plan also with the listed conditions that we had in the staff memo. And then the other item that we had would be the certified survey map. And the certified survey map is basically just to create the 2 lots for the development. The 4-acre lot is the vacant lot that would be used for future development, and the Quick Trip lot, which is lot 2, the 3.19 acre parcel, is for that development of the actual Quick Trip site. Again, access to the site will be from Washington Street and 18th Avenue. The CSM also provides a road dedication for Washington Street to provide adequate right-of-way for that. It's just a cleanup item that we had for an easement versus the actual right-of-way for that. So this cleans up that portion of that right-of-way. Staff would also recommend approval of that CSM with the listed conditions.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions for Jim?
I got a quick question. The 4 acres that they're not using, is that wide open then for restaurants, elderly housing, office buildings? Is there going to be stipulations on that when that comes around, or?
For the redevelopment of that property, anything that's listed under the B1 zoning would be allowed in there. So it could be a restaurant, it could be another retail store, it could be an office building, anything that's permitted under the B1.
Jed?
Are we dealing right now with, we have all the items right now, we have the open hearing just for the conditional use, and that's what our question should be limited to, correct?
Correction, number 3. I mean, number 3 on the agenda.
Just the conditional use permit right now, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I did have a comment on one of the 7 conditions for the permit, but should I wait for the public to speak first?
Probably be best, yeah.
Okay, then I'll hold off on that.
Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak about this item? If so, step up to the podium and give us your name and address and let us know what you'd like to hear or say. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lois Byron. My family and I reside at 1640 Concord Lane. And for identification purposes, my side yard faces River Shores Chiropractic that's now being developed. And so I am on the western edge of this development site. I'd like to thank Mark Petrovitz and Jim Reinke from the Department of Development for all their help and assistance and information that they provided. Troy Malevza from Quick Trip for his listening and taking things back to Leah Berlin, and Seth Waddell for the engineering department at Quick Trip, who attended the second of our 2 neighborhood meetings. I'd especially like to thank Virginia. She was a clerk at the Department of Development, and when I first contacted them about rumors about Quick Trip, I said, well, I'll just, she says, well, it's all up in the air, nothing's been determined, and I said, well, then I guess I'll just wait to see what I see on the West Bend News or, Facebook or the Washington County Insider, and she says, oh, no, honey, you don't want to do that. She said, what you need to do is go on the City of West Bend site to Department of Development, and they will keep you apprised of things as it gets developed. And if you have any trouble, just give me a call back. She says, I'll walk you through it. Well, a couple weeks later, lo and behold, there's something in there about a site plan. And then I called again and said, could I get a hard copy of the site plan for my own use? And Virginia said, oh, sure, come on in. So I go bring into the Department of Development with my little 3-year-old grandson, and Virginia hands me the copy, and she says, oh, I'm sure you're going to have questions for Mark. Come on back. I then spent the next half an hour with Mark and with Jim in their offices, and they laid out the entire plans, and that's when I first realized that it's not just Quick Trip that's coming in, that there's going to be Quick Trip and potentially 2 or more businesses, that the entire site is going to be raised anywhere from 4 to 9 feet, putting it more at our eye level of our backyards. And that, oh, by the way, the 18th Avenue entrance is, we are going to remove your 50-foot tall line of evergreen trees and put that side 18th Avenue entrance 20 feet off our back property lines. I then went back to our neighbors, and between another neighbor and I, Linda, we contacted various neighbors and businesses, informing them of the full scope of the development. Eventually, that led into having the meetings with the Quick Trip. In the meantime, Department of Development had shared our concerns with Quick Trip, and they had changed that 18th Avenue entrance that will still be 20 feet off of the River Shores property, but just before it hits my property, it will start to veer away to come in on the side there, and so by the time it reaches my neighbors, it'll be 60 feet. 60-some feet, I believe, off our back property lines, which we were definitely encouraged to hear. One thing that came out of out of our meetings with various neighbors and with Quick Trip is the ongoing concern about traffic. And Jim did say that this is something that they will be continuing to watch. When I try going through the traffic report, which is almost 300 pages long, I did hit on a couple things, that they had two alternatives at one point. There was going to be a Quick Trip with a retail and a senior living center. And just going by peak travel, peak times, morning and evening, that they would anticipate with that alternative one, that there would be a 75% increase in traffic coming into that area. On the alternative two, which is Quick Trip and a fast food and a sit-down restaurant, that number for midday or for typical day peak traffic would be 118% increase. That's given over with not knowing what's going to go in that additional 4 acres. That was done prior to River Shores Chiropractor coming in on 18th Avenue, who then reported at one of our neighborhood meetings that her business will now have 100 to 150 cars a day coming in to the chiropractic office, which is going to certainly impact on the traffic. I guess one thing that I'd like you gentlemen to keep in mind is that when this is approved this evening, the site development will all be done and will all be approved this evening. So chances are that any business that comes into the 4 acres will not have to come back before you. And that in turn would mean there will not be public input as far as what's going in there. We spoke, of course, to Department of Development and to Quick Trip, to Troy with our concerns, because Quick Trip is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. Will no longer have holidays with no noise back there. We will no longer have things quieting down after 9 o'clock at night. And then when you factor in the additional development that's going to be back there, there's a lot of concerns that the Highway 33 from 15th Avenue to 18th Avenue is going to be developed now with Baskin Robbins and Dunkin' Donuts coming in. There's other businesses that are going to be selling, and so there'll be future development in that little area right there is going to be another Paradise Drive congestion. That is our concern. I guess I'm asking you to please keep in mind that this will directly impact the enjoyment that we have, that myself and River Shores and the 4 other neighborhoods that directly behind this will impact our quality of enjoying our private backyards. We understand its development, we accept Quick Trip, and we appreciate the accommodations Quick Trips are making with us, but we still are concerns with a number of things. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Look for a motion to close.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion carries. And I will now take a motion on the item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Are there any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor?
Yes, I
I'm
did
sorry.
have,
Go ahead,
excuse me,
Jim.
Mayor.
My sorry.
No, that's okay. On the conditional use permit, I did have one, I had a concern. I don't know if the neighbors did, and if it's not, then this can stay. And it was the number 5, exterior speakers on the site and the pumps must be turned off from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I thought that those hours were a little late and a little early. If Quick Trip is here, are the speakers, are those the things that give advertisements when you're pumping your gas or something?
Sure. Good evening, Troy Malezova, Real Estate Development Manager, Quick Trip, 1626 Oak Street, La Crosse, Wisconsin. I think the item refers to is we have both an overhead speaker at the pump on the canopy in case there's an emergency. They can page in the store, ask for help, but then also there is individual level TV screen, if you will, and a speaker at the pump that does a little bit of advertising and then is able to communicate with the guests at the pump as well.
I was going to suggest that they be turned off from 9 PM to 7 AM, but that didn't come up in any neighborhood discussions? Okay.
We certainly welcome any silence that we can get.
I just thought 10 PM was a little late and 6 AM was kind of early. Would you have a problem with that?
I think we've visited this issue before, I think on the Main Street store, so whatever we did in that area is probably acceptable to us. I don't remember the specifics.
I don't remember.
I think this is the same what we did on the other ones.
This is the same as the other ones?
Yeah, so I guess we've got a couple of our coworkers here as well on the operations side, and they said it's 10 to 6 there.
Well, Main Street isn't quite the same situation as far as proximity to homes, is it?
Not as much, no.
And neither is the one on Silverbrook. I would make a suggestion to amend this to 9 PM to 7 AM on those, not on the emergency ones, but on those pump TV screens. But it's up to the rest of the commissioners.
Is it okay, we'd have someone from our operations group here as well, if they could speak to that as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm Carrie Wiggins, 366 Grove Street, Mayville. So there's a couple things. The TV screens are actually not that loud. That certainly wouldn't disrupt the neighbors. I think what might be a concern to them is like the music we play, and then we do the overhead greeting like, hello, pump 6. Generally, we do start with 10 PM to 6 AM, but if it was a problem for the neighbors and they thought that those hours weren't working, they could certainly reach out to me, and then we could adjust it from there. It wouldn't be a problem to do that.
I would ask that you do that. I think, because this is facing our backyards where the bedrooms are, and there'll be 7 months of the year that we're going to have bedroom windows open.
Okay.
What do you
Is that a
think?
problem, Troy? Yeah, that's not a problem for us. We can certainly agree to that.
What are we, just so,
To the 9 PM to 7 AM.
okay.
But for the speakers on the pumps, those shouldn't be disruptive to the neighbors at all. Even from like another pump over, we can even adjust the sounds on them as well, but they shouldn't hear those at all.
Do you have that, Mark? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So you want to make that friendly amendment to the motion, or,
Yeah, yes.
okay. Does it need to be seconded? Does it need to be seconded? Nope, okay. If there's nothing else, all those in favor with the motion and the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Next, under certified survey map and site plans, B1, SP 19035, site plan for the development of the site for a gas station and convenience store, 1613 and 1637 West Washington Street, by Leah Berlin Quick Trip Incorporated. Applicant Frank Stevies and agent Leah Berlin. Jim has already given us his presentation. And is there any discussion on this item? Not, I'd look for a motion on the item.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. If there's no further comments or questions, all those,
I was just going to
Sure.
mention something quick,
Yep.
if I may.
be my guest.
It was that there's some controversy in the community about another Quick Trip and what to do with this site. And I think for the public should understand that someone could conceivably buy this site and move into the existing Fleet Farm building, and it would stay there for another 20 years. And there's no requirement that it be upgraded because it's grandfathered into our architectural code. And in fact, there's a disincentive to improve it because then it wouldn't be grandfathered anymore. So some may say that we don't need another Quick Trip. Well, we don't make that decision anyway. We don't tell businesses they can't come here. But the alternative could be the reuse of that Fleet Farm building, and I don't think anyone really wants that. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Jed. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Item B2, SP 19035, public hearing for request to allow an oversized electric message centers to be placed at 1637 and 1613 West Washington Street by Leah Berlin Quick Trip Incorporated, applicant Leah Berlin. We've already had Jim's presentation. Does anybody like to speak on that item? If not, I'd look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Now I would look for a motion on the item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Item B3, CSM 19021, create two lots located at 1613 and 1637 West Washington Street by Leah Berlin Quick Trip Incorporated, applicant Frank Stevies, Tripar Oil Company, and agent Leah Berlin. We've already had Jim's presentation, so I would look for, if there's, first of all, is there any discussion or comments or questions?
I just want to say something about the future easement that the need to be on the CSM. I know it's under that first item of revision of the CSM to address technical corrections prior to the recording. And so there will be some stormwater easement in order to allow drainage to go from one lot to the other. And also access easement for vehicles to travel between the two lots. that will be on the final CSM once it's revised before it's recorded.
Okay, thank you, Bex. Then I would look for a motion on this item, please.
I make a motion to approve with the conditions listed by staff in the memo.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment and the item. Is there any more discussions or questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Quick Trip. Section C, 1, site plans. SP 20003, site plan for the development of the site for commercial restaurant with drive-through and associated site improvements at 2365 West Washington Street by Excel Engineering, applicant Tim Krause and agent Steve Kearns. And again, a presentation by Jim Rinke.
Thank you. This site plan submittal is for a 1,783 square foot Taco Bell restaurant. The property is zoned B1 Community Business District. The development proposal conforms to all of the zoning requirements within this district. A screen refuse area is being provided at the southeast corner of the site and complies with the urban design requirements for that. Access to the site will be from a private road that connects to, or a private driveway that connects to Washington Street. A shared private driveway between Taco Bell and Culver's connects to that private road, granting access to the site. 25 standard parking stalls and 2 barrier-free parking stalls are provided and meets the requirements for the parking. Since public and private sidewalk exist on the south and west side of the property, staff would recommend that a pedestrian access connection be provided from that either the public sidewalk or the private sidewalk to the building. Sanitary sewer exists to this lot, and that lateral will be reused. They are proposing to run a new water lateral from the private water main off to the west of this site back to the building. A stormwater management plan has been approved for the development. The site grades have been designed to drain internally to various catch basins, which then connects to storm sewer that discharges into West Washington Street. Site lighting for this development will be LED fixtures mounted on a 17-foot tall light pole. Landscaping is provided throughout the site and meets the requirements of the landscaping design standards. A monument sign will be located on the south side of the site. A typical sign proposal has been shown. The exact dimensions of that sign has not been provided, so prior to the installation of the sign, a sign permit will be required, meeting the requirements of the sign code for monument signs for this development. The building architectural elevations also identify wall signage on the building. A single wall sign will be on the south side of the building along with the west sign on the west side. The location of these signs conform to the standards of the code. The architectural building elevations provided for the site or for the building include an all brick building with 3 different earth tone colors used throughout the building. Metal awnings are also used over the canopy and the main entrance to define those areas. It's unclear on the rooftop units or if they're going to be ground units for the mechanicals. Staff would recommend that any mechanicals be screened from view, whether from the rooftop or from the ground. Staff would also recommend approval of the site plan with the listed conditions.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions for Jim?
Quick question. You see the drive-through for Culver's around 5 o'clock is very, very busy because they'll be using the same road. Is that correct? Culver's and Taco Bell just split off? And Taco Bell has quite a drive-through business also. Is there any concern about that? I see those cars backed up all the way to the main road, at 5 o'clock or 4:30,
Yeah, there may be some conflicts with that. We don't know the best way to correct it, but it is off on a private road and
Right.
private driveway.
So Culver's hasn't contacted being concerned about it at all, or?
No one has contacted our department in regards to that.
I do think there will be quite a bit of traffic at 5 o'clock backed up there. Just because of the drive-through traffic, not the people going into business, but it's highly used, just my concern.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion on the item.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion carries. Item C2, SP 20-004, site plan for the volleyball court and patio improvements along the east side of the building at 1022 South Main Street by Quam Engineering LLC, applicant and agent Travis Gitzel. And again, a presentation by Jim.
Thank you. This site plan proposal is for 2 sand volleyball courts and a concrete patio extension located on the east side of the Kingpin bowling building. The volleyball courts will be replacing that seasonal fenced-in area where those outdoor activities occur right now. The property is zoned B1 Community Business District. The volleyball courts will be used as a seasonal extension of the bowling alley. The use is a permitted accessory use as an extension of the bowling alley. The volleyball courts being proposed will be 34 foot wide and 180 feet long, and will be constructed with a timber retaining wall to contain the sand and an under drain system for that for those volleyball pits. A stormwater management plan is required and has been submitted and is currently under review by the engineering department. The volleyball courts will be enclosed by a netting on all 4 sides and on the top, and the volleyball poles, the nets for the the poles for the netting would be 30 foot tall and located on the outside perimeter of the courts. The site plan also identifies 8 wall-mounted lights that illuminate the court. Staff does have some concerns with the lighting, and will recommend that and require that as a condition of the approval that the lighting does not produce any glare onto South Main Street, causing a distraction. The existing patio, it will also be extended along the east side of the building and extend south to the southern edge of the building. Approximately 10 parking stalls will be lost, and staff feels that the loss of these 10 stalls would not negatively impact the parking need. As a part of the site proposal development improvements, the northern driveway approach that exists now will be removed, and the curbing will be replaced, and the curb lawn will be reestablished. The plan also identifies the existing pole sign to be removed to accommodate the improvements. A new ground sign will be proposed at a later date, and the location and type of sign would need to comply with the current regulations for signage. Staff would recommend approval of the site plan with the listed conditions.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions for Jim?
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just curious if there's any other safety concerns. I just think when I look at what's going on now, I mean, they're doing bag toss, pretty light stuff. But there might be an increase of people going around this area, volleyballs, things like that. It just seemed pretty close to a street. So I was just curious if there's any other safety concerns outside of the lighting that you noted.
I looked at the proposal that they had for the netting. The netting goes all the way down and is secured, and so it's completely enclosed all the way. So, it's hard to say if a ball is going to get loose or not, but provisions were made for that to secure everything inside.
Got it. Thank you.
Max?
I just wanted to add a condition to whoever's making the motion for the approval. We still have some technical issues with the site plan, things that we need to resolve with like utilities and some details on the plans. We have some issues with stormwater, which we're going to work on the stormwater management permit, and that's covered by item 1, but there are other things with the curb and that drive opening that's going to be closed, etc. So I would like to add a condition of approval, that the blanket one that we usually add, that it's conditional to the applicant working out the remaining technical details of the site plan prior to implementing this.
Okay, thank you, Max.
I have a question. Will the netting come down in the off-season, or will that stay up year-round?
The netting would come down.
Thank you.
And I had a question too.
Sure.
So there's only going to be one driveway access now onto Main Street?
Correct. That would be that southern driveway.
Is that unusual for a parking lot of that size, to have only one driveway?
I don't think it would be unusual
Okay.
that I can recall.
Okay.
If there's no other comments or questions, I'd look for a motion on the item.
Motion approved?
Second.
With Max's conditions, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Item C3, SP 20005, site plan for the redevelopment of the site for a two-story dental office and tenant space at 2121 West Washington Street by Rasposa Design. Paul Radzinski or John Dyke is the applicant, and Paco Major is the agent. And a presentation by Jim.
Thank you. This site plan is for a redevelopment of the property for a 6,334 square foot commercial building. The proposal would be for a dental office on the upper floor and possibly a second dental office on the lower portion also. The 0.71 acre parcel is zoned B1 Community Business District, and the development conforms to the requirements of the zoning code. A 10 by 10 screened refuse area will be located at the southeast corner of the site and meets the design requirements for that. The parcel today, as it exists, has 2 driveways. The proposal will be eliminating the westernmost driveway, and the easternmost driveway will be retained and utilized for connection to West Washington. The site plan identifies 24 total parking stalls being provided. The applicant is asking for a design exception for the parking based on the numbers that they have and the calculations that they have for their businesses being proposed for that. So they're asking for a reduction of 4 parking stalls versus the 28 required by code. The services to the building for sanitary, sewer, and water will extend from the mains that exist in Washington Street to serve the site. A stormwater management plan has been submitted and is being reviewed by the engineering department. The grades for the site have been designed to essentially drain the north half of the building, or north half of the site, either to the south or to the northwest, where it's collected in catch basins and piped down to the stormwater pond located on the south edge of the site. The southern half, or the lower portion of the site, will drain to that stormwater pond also. Site lighting for the development will be all building-mounted lighting. Landscaping has been provided around the perimeter, along the foundation, and within the parking lot for the development. As a part of the development, a ground sign has been proposed just west of the main driveway and complies with the size requirement of the sign in our signage code. The sign location will just need to be dimensioned and verify that the minimum 5-foot setback is being provided. The building architecture consists of a beige-colored brick and a gunmetal gray cement board siding, and a silver strand or a light gray Nietzsche siding will also be used throughout the building. Staff finds the elevations to be acceptable for those architectural materials. Revisions to the site plan will be needed just to clean up some inconsistencies between the plan sets. So prior to the issuance of the building permit, those inconsistencies would need to be revised as technical corrections. Staff would recommend approval of the site plan with the listed conditions.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Any other discussion or questions? If not, I'd entertain a item on the agenda. A motion on the agenda item.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions outlined by Jim.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion carries. Under Section D, Item D1, CSM 20002, create one land parcel into 2 duplex lots located at the northwest section of Daisy Drive by Accurate Surveying, applicant Hank Hekmovich, agent Don Thomas. And a presentation by Jim.
Thank you. This certified survey map will create 2 duplex lots they'll be located on the south side of Daisy, just west of Clearview Drive. The purpose of this CSM is to create 2 residential lots as a part of the overall subdivision that we have completed out in the area. The property is zoned RD2, 2-family residential, and meets the zoning requirements for that zoning district. The lots are 115 feet deep due to a 5-foot strip that remains out into the township. That 5-foot strip is needed to prevent a town island for other properties that are along Creek Road. The 5-foot strips will be retained as part of ownership with these properties, that at the time that that strip of those strips of land can be annexed into the city, they would be a part of that or owned as a part of the lot. An approved grading plan exists for the 2 lots. Revisions to the CSM will be needed to identify drainage easements on the south half of the lots for the swale that exists out there. And then also a storm sewer easement will be needed on the east portion of lot number 2 for the existing storm sewer that exists out there. So prior to recording that CSM, revisions to the certified survey map would be required. Staff would recommend approval of the CSM with the listed conditions.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions for Jim? If not, I'd entertain a motion on the item.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Mike, go ahead.
Mike Hartwell, Shores Realtors. I'm working with the buyer in purchasing these 2 lots, and the buyer he couldn't be here this evening. He has some concerns about that 20-foot easement for the storm sewer. This is the first that he became aware of it and wants to be clear on how that impacts the building restrictions on that lot versus the 8-foot setback from the property line.
Yeah, it will impact that building pad will be slightly smaller than the other building pad for lot number 1. It was shown on the grading plan, so it was known that building pad would be slightly smaller than the other lot.
What grading plan is that? I'm not aware.
There's a grading plan that was provided as part of, I believe it was Willowview Edition number 1 or Willowview, the original phase. We have that up in our office. But that showed the actual building pads for the 2 parcels that are being created tonight.
Okay, so the setback for that lot number 2 then to the east would be 20 feet from the property line?
20 feet on that east side and then the 8 foot for the other side, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, entertain a motion on the item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, motion carries. Item D2, CSM 20001, create 2 lots and 1 outlot located on River Road across from Railway by the City of West Bend. Applicant, City of West Bend. Presentation by Jim.
Thank you. The certified survey map is located on the east side of South River Road, just adjacent to Railway. The purpose of the CSM is to create 2 industrial lots and an outlot as a part of the development of the West Bend Manufacturing Center Industrial Park. This land division will benefit the TIF District number 14. The property is zoned M2 and the lots meet the requirements of the M2 district. Lot 1 will be 22.2 acres and lot 2 is 19.49 acres. Both lots will have access from South River Road, and the CSM is also creating right-of-way and dedicating right-of-way for Forge Place, which would be a new road that runs east-west in that development. The CSM also creates Outlot 1, which is noted as that may contain a historic cemetery site. Additional right-of-way is being dedicated for South River Road to provide the half right-of-way, or the 50-foot half right-of-way in accordance with the city's official map. And again, as mentioned earlier, the CSM does create an 80-foot wide east-west road, which will be named Forge Place. The extension of the utilities and the construction of the roadway facilities are planned as part of the TIF 14 projects. Staff would recommend approval of the CSM with the condition that the CSM be approved by the Common Council for the road dedications.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? If not, I'll entertain the item on the motion on the item. Let's see that.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, Motion carries. Being no further business before the planning commission, I adjourn. Good evening, everyone.